Hello and welcome back to Wireman's Whimsy. Today we are going to make this really pretty card. I've made it with a Wedding Wishes banner on it, but you could put any greeting you wanted to on it. I've used the greeting from the Love and Happiness set, and I am using the flowers from the Flowing Flowers set. And there's plenty of greetings in here that you could use if you didn't want to do, say, the Wedding Wishes one. So, elements I've used in the card. I have got my opal rounds that I have colored with my, this is the dark polished pink Stampin' Blends. So I'm just going to pop those off to the side. I used one of the small stitched rectangle dies for the to cut out the greeting. I've used the masking technique, so I've got my flower that I've already cut out from other projects. I used blending brushes with the soft sea foam to do the top, and my colors are polished pink and fresh freesia. So I'm just going to pop some things off to the side for now, and we can get started on the card itself. So I have got a polished pink standard North American card base. I've got a 5 1/4 by 4 piece of basic white, and I've got a scrap of basic white for the greeting. So what I did for this card, and pop that off to the side, was I took my polished pink and my stamp, inked it up really well, and I'm just going to grab a scrap of paper so that I can double check that I've got good coverage. And I do. Okay, I'll just put that back off to the side. And what I did was I just popped this down in the corner like that. Then I took my mask and I put it over top, because what the mask does is it stops the images overlapping, so you get one image in front of the other. So I'm just going to hold that down, and then I just stamped another flower like that, and you can see it's now actually behind the original flower. Sometimes you can get a bit of, I call it a holiday, space where there's no ink because of the edge of the paper holds the stamp up. If you find you get that, you can always just line up the paper so you can see a little bit of the ink underneath, and then you just stamp down and you don't get so much of that. Now for the bottom piece, I actually did this way up like that. So what you have is a series of flowers, but this one actually stands up further than the rest. While I've got the polished pink out, I'm also going to stamp the greeting. And as I said, this is the Wedding Wishes greeting from Love and Happiness. Just going to put that down, and then I can close my polished pink ink pad, and we'll cut that out in a minute. What we need to do now is we need to come in with our fresh freesia, and the flower, the smaller flowers. Again, I'm going to ink up and stamp away to make sure I've got good coverage. And then I'm going to use my mask. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to use my mask, and I'm going to come in and I'm going to stamp the flowers. Oh, I got this. Apologies, I have the sneezies this morning for sure. Okay, I'm going to spin this around. How does this fit in here? Like this, and stamp another set of flowers. And then I can come in. I want this to almost look like a bouquet, so that these fresh freesia flowers are actually behind the flowers themselves, or the larger flowers. I'm going to pop that in like that, and I'll do one more just off the end here like this. and maybe just come in and fill that a little bit in at the bottom. So what I've got is the bouquet. What I am going to do now is I'm going to come in with my soft seafoam and my brush. I'm just going to ink up my brush, swish it away a little bit, and then just come in and just add that little bit of color. And I'm actually going to come in the gaps in the flowers here as well, just to kind of make it look like there's some greenery in behind. And you can do this as with as much color or as little color as you like. And you just keep going round and round and round until you've got the color that you want in the background. I think I'd like a little bit more color just up here, so I'm just going to go over that bit again. Okay, and we can actually go ahead now and mount that onto our card base. Just with our Stampin' Seal, just run a couple of lines, 3 lines across the back. And as always, we just take it to the one edge, line it up, and drop it down. And now we need to cut out our greeting. So I've got my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and I want to say thank you to all the people who reached out with tips and tricks after I struggled with it on one of my previous videos. I want that to sit like this, and I'm actually going to put a sticky note over it just to hold it in place. And I've actually got this the wrong way up. My apologies, everyone. I've got my cutting plates. I always cut on one plate and have another plate on the top just to see, just to keep everything nice and smooth. And then when you're cutting, sometimes your top plate actually leaves an impression on your paper. So I try and keep the top plate as smooth as possible. And I'm just going to run this through, and it doesn't want to go. Okay, so maybe it's this, because I do have this at an angle, so it should actually still run through. I'm going to stagger my top plate, as one of the tips was. Okay, so we're going to run that through, and there we go. Now it's going through. So yes, one of the tips that I got was to stagger my plates so that the leading edge isn't quite as thick. Another tip was to use the gray plate on top. The gray plate, the dark gray plate, is actually thinner than the cutting plates. So if you're struggling with your dies, you might want to just put that on top. This is not a cutting surface. It's meant to be used with the embossing folders, so you will end up potentially with just some marks like are on my top plate here, but it is another option. So the smaller Stampin' Cut and Emboss does take a little bit of getting used to about how it works. Some of the dies go through like a hot knife through butter, and it just doesn't even blink. And you'll notice in the catalog there are little captions next to the dies that are specifically designed for the mini Cut and Emboss. I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back of that one, and then we can peel those off and pop it down. Oops, I've just stuck it to my thumb. That seems to be the way things are going today, isn't it? So you can put it wherever you like. I kind of like it up here. Just going to make sure that's straight before I actually press it down. And there we go. And then I can take my opal rounds that I've already colored in and just pick them up. Oh, that one went upside down already. And you can put them where you like. I'm going to pop one down there, and I'll grab another one, and I think I might pop this one up high like that. Keeping in mind, as always, that the closer to the edge you are, the more difficulty you'll have getting the envelope around it, because there won't be as much give towards the edges. But anyway, that is our card for today. You could easily make it a happy birthday card or a thank you card. I've used the Flowing Flowers set and the greeting from Love and Happiness. So thank you so much for watching today, and let's create together again soon.